Shalom. I want to give all honor and praises to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, BAHASHAM, QADASH. Double honors to the elders and apostles, great millstone, teaching me this truth of sincerity, citation to the hope of that the spirit of cornerstone. Alright, so this part of this is going to be a prophecy update 11. Third will come quickly. Okay, so just going to be another prophecy update. Right, third will come quickly. And yeah, so as you can see, I have a clip here, 11 minutes long, and it basically goes into Iran. The title of the clip is Iran to strike Israel today, U.S. officials. Okay, so if you don't know about this, war that's been going on in the, Western Asia, okay, so-called, around the Middle East area, right, against Israel and Hamas, right? Because that basically, where it started from. Okay, October 10th, 2023, right? The war began. And, Hamas fired, weapons into the Gaza Strip, right? Fire weapons into Israel, in territory controlled by Israel, right? Where the war basically began, right? So, and this is where I'm gonna play this clip, and but the now Iran was to get involved, right? Iran got involved, because what Israel attacked. Those articles I was reading. Israel ended up attacking, Israel ended up attacking Iranian embassies. All right, so here, this is the title of Israel on edge for Iranian retaliation after embassy strike. Okay. Israel on Friday braced for an attack by Iran or its proxies as warning grew of retaliation for killing last week of a senior officer in Iran's embassy in Damascus. So this is basically so basically, because Israel is already, because Israel is already mad at, basically this is basically the Lord, he's heightening of these, because it's all about doing the Lord, right? He's heightening up, this war. Okay, so let me get this in Isaiah 13:4. Because he's moving these different nations to bring for war. Okay, to bring for destruction, for the basic next stage of the prophecy to be fulfilled. Isaiah 13:4. It says, the noise of a multitude in the mountains like of a great people, which is referring to what? Armies, host of armies, right? Military, in that land, right? In that land that's barren, desolate, right? Saudi Arabia, in that area of Saudi Arabia, right? The Western Asia area. Okay, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together, right? Just referring to what? Their military. The Lord YAHAWAH shall of hosts, okay, of armies, muster the hosts of the battle, the armies of the battle, is referring to what? The Lord, he's the ultimate. He's controlling. He controlled every aspect of, of this war. Every aspect with he's directing all these different the different, people who are gonna play a major part of this war, of getting this war popping off, right? He controlled, them, right? And controlled what they do, So it's very, when you go into where it musters, we'll get it here. Okay. Come on now. Come on now. Well, it won't let me go into it, so more than likely. Let's see some. Okay, there were mustards, right? To attend, right? To pay attention to observe, okay? To visit upon, right? And you can go into that, you can go deeper into that root word as well, to bring out more edification on it. Like mustard, right? 14th century, to display, reveal, to show, or demonstrate, since it's now obsolete, also to appear, be present, right? So the Lord, He's present, okay? You know, He's present, right? You know, he's because of what his name is. You know, they live in power, right? So he's controlling everything, right? So he's present, right? He's you know, putting in these different people's minds, right? You know, Scripture says that the heart of the king is in his hand. He turn it where the mind of the king is in his hand, and he turn it every way he go, like the rivers of water, right? You know, so the Lord, He controlling what these different, different people who rule this country, right? Presidents, whatever, title they have that rules these different nations, right? He controls them, right? Whether they're gonna, bring forth war or not, right? Also, like from Latin, monastery, I'm gonna pronounce that word, to show, from monastrum, omni, signs, right? Okay. Also, you gotta hear mustards in the KJV. Um, Muster is Latin monstro, to show properly, to collect, truth, for review, parade, and exercise, but in general to collect or assemble truth, persons, or things, right? And this is what the Lord doing, okay? He's assembling the different, nations, armies, right? Ultimately, for the big, for the ultimately for the final war, okay? To bring for that final destruction, the third woe, okay? The third destruction, right? Where all nations, armies, they will be fighting against each other, but eventually they're going. When the Lord appeared, they're going to fight against the Lord, okay? So yeah, I just want to get into that, but I'm gonna go back to here. I'm gonna play this little clip. That's why this war Esau. All right, this is for fair use.
Some big news just coming in. Iran is reportedly prepared to launch an attack on Israel. Senior U.S. officials have said that Iran, in all likelihood, will attack Israel before the weekend, and that strike may also happen as soon as tonight. According to reports in Israeli media, Iran can launch missiles and drones today. The situation is clearly tense. Earlier, a U.S. official was quoted as saying that the attack on Israeli soil could come in the next 24 to 48 hours. The strike can now happen as early as tonight. The developments follow an attack by Israel on Iran's embassy in Syria's capital of Damascus. The attack had killed 7 people, including 2 Iranian generals. Following the deadly attack, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, had on Wednesday vowed to quote-unquote punish Israel. Meanwhile, in response to intelligence reports that indicate an imminent attack by Iran, IDF chief was seen assessing the military readiness of Israeli forces amid heightened tensions. Now, for more on this, our correspondent Susan Teherani is joining us live from New York. Susan, what are you hearing from Washington at this moment?
Yeah, in a sign of how serious this issue is, we did learn that the commander of the U.S. Central Command moved up his trip to Israel to meet in person with IDF forces. We're also learning that the Defense Department is moving additional assets to the Middle East region to bolster regional deterrence efforts and increase force protection for U.S. forces. Now, it's important to note that these intelligence don't include an attack by Iran on U.S. forces. However, there is still concern because likely these attacks will be carried out, if they do, by Iranian proxies, and Tehran doesn't have complete control and command over these proxies, so U.S. Troops may be caught in a fire as well. But we do know that President Biden is constantly being briefed. We also know that the United States has told its personnel at embassies in Israel to not move, for residents and U.S. Nationals to not move or travel away from Tel Aviv or Jerusalem.
Right. Susan, U.S. has also urged Iran through back channels, of course, to restrain foreign attack. Could you detail these diplomatic relays in West Asia that's going on at the moment?
Yeah, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has been in constant conversation not only with his Chinese and Saudi counterparts, but also his Turkish counterparts as well. We do know that Saudi Arabia recently reestablished diplomatic ties with Iran. Also, Turkey is a strong ally of Iran. And then, of course, China and Iran have grown closer together since the United States has imposed those sanctions against Iran for the last few years. So, to see whether or not Tehran would respond to these mediation efforts or not is one thing. But another thing is we have seen time and again that Iran hasn't directly planned to attack Israel or the United States in fear of a wider regional war and in fear that Israel would retaliate directly against Iran. So it seems that the intelligence that the United States and Israel have is that these attacks would be carried out by Iranian proxies. Nonetheless, it's concerning. It's the tense it's ever been in the last maybe few decades, and U.S. officials are concerned.
All right, Susan, thank you for getting us all those updates from New York. Obviously, whenever developments happen, we will be coming back to you. Now, just a few moments ago, the United States National Security Council spokesperson issued a statement during a briefing that U.S. is watching Iran closely over its threat to retaliate against Israel and is taking the matter very seriously.
I would just say that we're watching this very, very closely. We still deem the potential threat by Iran here to be real, to be viable, certainly a credible, and we're watching it as closely as we can.
Thank you.
Now, to take this discussion further, we are being joined by Colonel Rich Outson. He's a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council and the Jamestown Foundation. Mr. Outson, thank you so much for joining us here on WION. I want to ask you, in case Iran launches an attack against Israel, how will it look on the ground?
Well, it's good to be with you, and let's keep in mind that the Iranians have developed significant what we call asymmetric capabilities so that it wouldn't look like a ground invasion or a massive airstrike from a fleet of fixed-wing aircraft with human pilots. They can do a number of things. They can launch missiles from the Red Sea area. They can launch missiles from Hezbollah-controlled territory where there's also IRGC working with them in southern Lebanon. They can attack through a number of different proxies. It may also be that an attack by Iran would not actually take place on Israeli territory per se. Some have speculated that given the fact that the precipitating attack by Israel against the IRGC general in Damascus was not against Iran in its own territory, but against an Iranian representation overseas, that the retaliation may resemble that or mirror that, and that could look like an attack against an Israeli facility, either a business or a diplomatic facility in, say, Europe, or through a terror attack, or in the Gulf, or even in Azerbaijan.
Right, Colonel Outson, it's very interesting you lay those facts out. Of course, it's very complicated to say anything for certain at this point. In case what you said does happen in those manner, what kind of a reaction can we expect from the United States?
Well, I would say if they do choose to attack against Israeli territory, it's a much higher probability that the United States would get directly involved in trying to deter, intercept, or punish such an attack. So, for instance, shortly after October 7th, we saw that the United States deployed several aircraft carriers to the eastern Mediterranean to deter Iran or Hezbollah, their proxy, from launching attacks from southern Lebanon. So I would say that if we get early warning that there is, say, a launch of 100 sophisticated missiles, longer-range missiles, against Israeli territory, that you'd see some work by the United States to hit the launching sites, potentially, or to help intercept the missiles. Of course, Israel has its own very sophisticated capabilities to do that. Now, if, on the other hand, it's a terror attack somewhere in Europe, or a missile strike or airstrike against a facility in a third country, it'll be a slower response because the United States and Israel, of course, will have to consult with that third country to figure out what's the best way to get after it. I would say this, the escalatory threat of a direct U.S. attack on Iran or Iranian territory has not been put on the table. I think the Biden administration has been careful to avoid that so far. But if this is an egregious enough attack against an American facility, and we have to admit it's not just Israel that's a potential target here, America and American assets are also
Absolutely
potential targets. Then I think the Biden administration would have to take off the conditionality and say, okay, if this is a big enough attack on a sensitive enough target, this is not the end of it, and then we'll come after you on Iranian territory.
Of course, and then there's this other front. We know what's happening in Red Sea right now, where the Hezbollah has been consciously attacking any ship affiliated even closely with Israel, of course, and US has been a victim of that. How do you put that into perspective when it comes to Iran and Israel?
Right. Well, so this is the Houthis as opposed to Hezbollah, but it's definitely part of a single campaign. The way I view it, and I'm not original in this thinking, but I subscribe to this thinking, is that Iran is actually fighting against Israel already on 4 or 5 different fronts. One of them happens to be with small-scale attacks from southern Lebanon via Hezbollah. One is through its arming and equipping. And by the way, it's not just the Iranians that have done it. North Korea and others have helped with Hamas's tunnel project in Gaza. The technology is the same, and there's evidence of people having gone in from North Korea to help with that. That's another lobe. And then the Houthis, with their attacks against Western shipping and Israeli interests in the Red Sea, is just one more front in this war. So what we see is a multi-front hybrid form of warfare. And whatever comes as a result of the strike that Israel carried out against the IRGC general in Damascus will just be another new front. And this one probably involving, if most experts are right on it, the launching of a large number of missiles and rockets.
Right. Colonel Watson, I would like to correct myself. You're right, it's the Houthis in the Red Sea, and Hezbollah is, of course, prominently in Lebanon. But as you mentioned, the Iran and its proxies, rather, are fighting Israel on multiple fronts as well. If we could shift our focus a little, just moments ago, I was speaking to an analyst from Tehran. I'd asked him if Iran is ready to sustain a full-blown war, to which he had said that Iran is very resilient. But I want to ask you, do you think that's enough, given it is struggling economically?
Well, let's look at their partners, Russia. Russia is also struggling economically in some sense. They're certainly underperforming in GDP compared to pre-war, and they've suffered under U.S. and Western sanctions, as Iran has as well. But what we've seen is the emergence of a network of what we might call resistance economies in Russia, to some extent China, and certainly Iran, that help one another. So Iran is producing drones and other military equipment for Russia. It has ramped up military production in a way that will help itself sustain a war. You don't have to be rich to fight a war in the modern era. You need to be willing to kill people and to take casualties. It helps that Iran's a very large country. So I think your Iranian interview subject is probably right. They are prepared for a long fight. In fact, they're already engaged in one. The question is, at what point will the West, the U.S. and other countries be willing to put enough pain so that Iran backs off its clearly escalatory pattern? It may not lose a war or end in the total overthrow of the Iranian regime, but there has to be punishment sufficient to change their behavior.
All right, Colonel, as always, you bring in some very interesting points here. Thank you so much for speaking with us here on WION and getting us all your insights.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
For all the latest news, download the...
So that basically, as you heard it, so basically Iran is basically considering to attack Israeli, within 48 hours, okay? Now that happened, who are Israeli allies, right? U.S., all right? So if Iran attack Israel, that means that U.S. going to get involved, right? And if U.S. get involved, that means what? U.S. allies and EU is going to get involved, which is going to start World War III, right? Then if they get involved, right, then that means Russia, because who's Iran partner? Who's Iran allies? Russia. So they're going to be World War III, right? So they were speaking about that, about Israeli-Iran proxies, right? Iran proxies are who? Hezbollah, right? In Lebanon, Hamas, and Islamic Jihadi in the Gaza Strip, okay? The Shiite militias in Syria and Iraq, and the Houthis in Yemen. So these are all what? Basically, different proxies, basically like, they are Houthi, Hezbollah, the jihadis, they're basically like they add under Iran, okay. They're supported by Iran, right? Because the Hamas, right? They're supported by Iran, right? Because Iran they say that Iran had trained Hamas. They supply them with weapons, right? To start that war, okay, to start this whole war, right? But see, I don't know why this is not working no more. It was working, when I. It's all right. How do I go to this? How do I go back to Blue Letter? All right, so I'm gonna get here in Revelation 11:5. Revelation chapter 11, verse 5 says, Revelation 11:15. It's like no, Revelation 11:14. It says the second woe is past, which is French World War II. And behold, the third woe comes quickly. The third woe comes quickly, where woe goes back to destruction. Okay? So, the third woe, which is World War III, right? Because every world war, involves destruction, mass casualties, right? That word war should go back to the word destruction. Let me see if I can get it here. It's just a folly. Yeah, see. Well, great sorrow, distress, right? So desolation, it goes back to our desolation, right? Sorrow. So basically destruction, okay? Just like the word we know the second woes, right? And then great suffering, trouble, okay? So yeah, because blue letter, it doesn't go into like the definition, right? So sometimes you have to look it up. Sometimes blue letter it's not gonna fully go into the words. So but going back to Revelation 11. So the third was coming quickly, right? And the apostle always says that the third was not going to come into what the MLTB's main minister, right? So yeah, we see things are happening, right? Basically that we see things are happening, right? But the elect still have to be sealed, okay? The feminine word haven't came yet, so and we can't the missiles, because once this war finally happens, the third World War III, once it finally happens, missiles gonna be flying. ICBMs missiles gonna be flying, right? But and Jacob Trouble hasn't even came yet, so so we believe that ultimately is according to the will of the Heavenly Father, right? So we can't, but we know to the spirit that the war will not happen to the MOTB's main mandatory, right? But we see that things are, Lord, we see things are, we see things are happening, right? Things are, we see things are happening like things are not happening, right? But it's not like things are not happening. Things are happening, right? War prophecies are coming to pass, right? But the final, we're seeing like just like when you like before a movie, you like sometimes you like see like clips or you see portions of the movie, right? Trailers, right? This is what this is, right? We're just seeing trailers or things that's about to happen, right? About entities that the second terror is past, but look, the third terror is coming quickly, right? We're just seeing like small pieces of of this third woe coming together, right? Or they're just these small pieces of this, of this third woe, right? But they gonna all come together when what? When it was to be mandatory, and the missiles start flying, right? Then that when that third woe gonna finally comes, right? But it's coming quickly, right? It's coming quickly, like it's not like it's said though a terror wait for it, right? Because it's sure to come to pass, right? So the third woe, it's gonna come to pass, right? It's coming, right? Quickly, speedily, okay, without delay, right? Or by surprise, okay? Yep. This is Lord, we're giving all undergo praises to YAHAWAHSHI, SHABASH, and QADASH, right? At the end of the day, okay, because our salvation is near, right? Because when the scripture said when you start to see these signs come to pass, look up because your redemption is drawing out, right? So now these are signs, right? Signs that the elect is sealed, and the deliverance of the elect is coming. Get here, Jeremiah 50. Jeremiah 50:45 says, "Therefore hear ye the counsel of the Lord YAHAWAHSHI that he hath taken against Babylon, in his purposes that he has purposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock should draw them out." Right? The least of the flock, the least of the Edomites, right? Which referring to what? Ultimately, this is referring to the Amalekites, right? Israel, right? The Israelis should have drawn these Edomite nation into war, okay? Starting with the U.S., okay? Surely he should make their habitation desolate with them, right? So the Lord ultimately, he gonna, which referring to that third woe, okay, that third destruction, right? Because once that final war, third woe happen, right? They'll be in of Edom society, Edom rulership, okay? Once they finally get soft and scale, right? And things actually start to happen, they're gonna be in of wicked E ruling. So I got this other news article I wanted to bring up. Iran likely will strike Israel, not U.S. forces, U.S. and Iran officials said. Let's see. Hold on, let's read up. Yeah, here. It says the United States, this one, the United States, Israel's preeminent ally, has military forces in several places across the Middle East. but Iran likely would not target them to avoid inciting a direct conflict with the United States, according to Iranian official who similarly insisted on remaining anonymous in the Americans officials. Right. So this is why I say, they say that they say that Iran might attack Israelis, within 48 hours. But if they do, it's going to cause U.S. to get involved, right? And as you can see in this news article, it says that the Iran, they trying to avoid that, right? So, you just never know, right? This is why I say it's up to the will of the Heavenly Father, right? It's all according to the will of the Heavenly Father. If the Lord, He wants this, Israeli, if He haven't to have Israel to attack, Iran to attack Israeli, then it's 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 gonna be beautiful, right? Because but if he doesn't, then that means what? The prophecy still, the elect still have to be sealed, right? The elect still have to be sealed. We have to just wait, right? There's still some more teaching to do. There's still some more there's a lot of things that still need to be done, right? So, we'll see, right? But I'm gonna close here by giving all honor, glory, and praise to YAHAWAHSHI, QADASH. The next time, say shalom.